Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Voyager Season 3, Episode 21, Before and After. So this episode was okay. It was a lot better than some of the previous episodes, but it still wasn't that super intriguing for me. Just off of the title, it reminded me of Cause and Effect, which was a great episode. It was like the Groundhog's Day episode for The Next Generation, but it's not. It does have to do with time travel though, so I thought that was super interesting. From the very beginning, it starts out where the Doctor having hair, and I was already like, oh, alternate dimension, what's going on here? But it turns out that this is like 6 years, I think they said, in the future, and it has Grandma Kess in it. The Doctor now has a name. He is Dr. Van Gogh, Captain Chakotay, and Kess is trying to figure out what's going on, because she has some sort of like genetic disease or something. She can't really remember anything. But we see her daughter and her grandson, and it turns out that Kess is married to Chakotay, Kess is married to Tom Paris, and her daughter is married to Harry Kim, and so her grandson is, it's Harry's son. So overall, there's a lot going on, and it's like, wow, this is 6 years in the future? This is kind of weird, interesting. And then she goes back in time, it doesn't necessarily say how far, but it seems like just a few hours, because at this point, her grandson's trying to give her a birthday present, and then she goes back in time a little bit, and now he has it, but he hasn't given it to her yet, and then she goes back in time a little bit more, and now he's talking about how he doesn't have time to make her a birthday present, and it's going to be late. So already, we as viewers can watch this happen. And then when she's at the birthday party, we see Neelix in a uniform because he's like the security officer or something. So that was great. She's talking to Paris, and Paris kind of talks about how Janeway was killed in the year of hell, which is something we will see not too long from now, and how Harry's his son-in-law now, stuff like that. And then as they keep going further and further back, then she jumps back to the birth of her daughter. So she starts jumping back hours, and then months, and now years, where she's giving birth, and evidently Ocampas give birth through their back. So that was kind of interesting. We go back even further a little bit to, I think it was right before the year of hell. So, because B'Elanna is still alive. And so Tom and B'Elanna are together, they're kissing and everything. And so it's kind of a little bit of foreshadow going on there. We finally get to the point where the Doctor doesn't have hair anymore and he doesn't have a name. And slowly we realize that Kess at some point was infected with some sort of radiation, and so let's see if I can remember exactly how the Doctor worded it. So the Doctor said that they were all exposed with some sort of radiation. He inoculated them and cured them of it, but then later on, he's trying to figure out how to expand the 9-year Ocampa lifespan, and by doing so, it creates some sort of temporal rift and knocks her out of it. And so finally, right as she's about to not exist anymore, we see her as a little girl with her father, we see her still in the womb, we see her as a single cell organism. So finally, when we get to that point, suddenly it starts re-expanding, and we go back to the present, and the Doctor is like, hey, I figured out how to cure you, and the episode ends. There is some great scenes there at the end where everybody's questioning her about well, what about this, and what about that, and who got together, and who died, and who did this, which kind of goes completely against the temporal prime directive and stuff about not knowing about the future. And she even says it was only one timeline, it could have already changed at this point, and we know it does. But it's kind of interesting that, at no point does Janeway say, no, you guys are not allowed to talk about this. Eventually, she is why don't we just let her rest? But she never, cuts them off. Overall, I think this was a good episode. It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as some of the previous ones, but I did enjoy it. So for those who have seen this one, what did you guys think about it? What did you think about Kess's new hairstyle? What did you think about all the different relationships, Paris and Kess, and Harry and her daughter, Chakotay being the captain, Neelix being in a uniform, stuff like that. Thank you guys for watching these videos. It means a lot to me. Thank you guys for those who have subscribed, and I will see you guys next time for Real Life.